I've never betrayed anyone in my entire life.
Welcome to this bonus Minisode of On the Shoulders of Giants, where we'll be covering episodes 1 through 3 of Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuux. Brian and myself have been caught in a Zek Nova and tossed into an alternate OSG timeline. So, we thought we'd make the best of it and talk about the all-new Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuux. I'm, of course, joined by Brian.
Hello, I am traumatized by a war, and I'm going to inflict that trauma on children who have no business enduring it.
And for the mini episodes, Niko unfortunately was left in the original timeline, so we'll be having some different guests. Our first guest will be my good friend, Tricky.
The Gundam said it's time to discuss GQuuuuuux.
That's right, I'm listening to the Gundam. It's talking to me. All right, well, this is part 1. But not really part 1, because before this, we watched GQuuuuuux The Beginning in theaters. Me and Brian sat down and discussed that, but the series is now actively being released, and what I think a lot of this is going to be, so GQuuuuuux The Beginning was a movie version of the first 3 episodes, but there are a lot of substantial differences than the first 3 episodes of the show. So we'll be going episode by episode and just gut feelings, talking about Gundam, and hoping that someday our Mav will find us. All right, let's jump in. Episode 1. I forgot to pull up the title. Shit. 1 second.
The Red Gundam.
Episode 1. The Red Gundam. So, episode 1 is actually the second part of the movie.
Yeah.
So we come into Side 6. This is where our framework is. We meet Machu in Side 6, who tells us that, you know, the ground is actually above us, or the sky is below us. What does she say?
She says something like that. I think for someone who hasn't seen Gundam before, the show order of events probably works better.
Yes, this is the way that they change it from the movie. This is very much like, this is a show. This is the show intro. We're learning our protagonist. We're learning what's going on in the world.
We got to talk about that opening. I love it. What do you guys think about the opening?
Oh, holy shit. Gundam openings of all time.
It is very good.
The scene when, I love the little running animation, but especially when it's them and the guys from the camel and they're all just running. It's different than the other Gundam OPs. The show is very much embracing its kind of like graffiti culture vibe in a cool way. I'm reminded a lot of Hands Off Inazoko, that anime that came out a couple years ago with its kind of kinetic art style and characters. OP is great.
Apparently the OP is by Kenshi Yonezu and did the opening for Chainsaw Man and My Hero Academia. So that's fun.
To talk about the music of it all, so I love the OP. It's actually really good. But the ED and one of the insert songs are sung by Hoshimachi Suisei, the VTuber.
Oh,
Sorry,
really?
V-Singer now.
V-Singer.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is incredible. Alice, I know you love the ending. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I want to live in their house with them. They're so cute. I love them. So I actually, me and Tricky watched this together, and at the last ending, I was like, okay, there's a scene in the ending where Machu, for like a second, is playing her guitar, and I was like, oh, there are guitars on the wall. I wonder if they took the effort. And they did take the effort of animating it off of the background for her playing the guitar for 1 second. And I think the show has a lot of just minute details that are really taken care of in this.
Yeah, it definitely has kind of that, I want to say the Gainax energy. It's very kinetic. It's very lively animation. And they actually throw in a lot of callbacks throughout. One thing that I noticed, and actually I see is called out on the Wikipedia, is when they go into the Pomeranians hideout, and I'm sure we'll talk about that more as we get there in the plot itself, there are some terms and assorted callbacks to previous Gainax series.
for those who are wondering, this won't be a one-to-one retelling. This is a companion podcast, so yeah, I really like the references in their hideout. It's very small. So she gets embroiled with Nyan, which is still a great name, and Nyan and Machu meet up with some ne'er-do-wells who do clan battle, which is what this seems to be what this will be about for the first part, at least. There's one part of this that I really like, which is the head lady, and I really wish I should probably just pull
Anki
has a revolver that she hides briefly when Machu comes in, which is like, oh yeah, there's an undercurrent here. There's an undercurrent. It's very cool.
It seems like I hope we stick with the clan bat stuff. I think these first 6 episodes have been. I really love the way that we're using clan bat to like relitigate a bunch of 1 year war shit. It's like so cool. It's like such a good way to like kind of talk about that stuff in new ways. But I think so. The first episode is funny because if you watch the first episode and you watch the 6th episode, there's like Tricky was saying, there's a lot of Gynax stuff. Everything is moving incredibly quickly. If you stop paying attention for like 3 seconds, you'll miss incredibly important dialogue. So I actually watched a lot of these episodes twice because I kept ducking away to watch dialogue or to make notes. And then I would look back and I'd be like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you're not like deeply familiar with the original Gundam lore and kind of how they're playing off of it, because they are in an alternate timeline, which, you know, obviously Zeon has won the 1 year war, and that's kind of thrown everything off into a alternate universe rather than the universal century. But it's still kind of progressing in parallel. So there's a lot of things.
It's interesting that way.
That if you know what's going on, you know, you're familiar with Gundam or even, you know, like Zeta or the other 1 year war side stories, there's a lot of kind of knowledge that you can bring to GQuuuuuux that is going to kind of scaffold you on and kind of add to your experience.
Totally. So I'll be honest, I didn't rewatch the first 3 episodes because I already knew that they had chopped and screwed just like that thing. Were there other differences other than the order of events that I missed?
Yeah. So probably the biggest episode difference is going to be episode 2, where they do the 1 year war alternate. So the biggest change is kind of where they cut off. They don't do the full part where Char goes in and sets
Battle
up the
Solomon
explosives.
Is hand waved. So Char goes in, and we immediately cut to Shalia seeing the Zek Nova and narrating about it. So we don't get the Artesia of it all. We don't get
interesting.
any of that threat. We don't see him in his last moments having that moment in the Zek Nova. We literally just see it cuts to that.
So people
and
who
then
haven't
hand
watched the
waves
movie don't know that like because like one of the questions I had, and I don't know if we want to jump straight to episode 4 or not. One of the questions that I had is like, we're
doing 1 through 3.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Never mind. I'll hold
sorry.
mine then.
Okay. Sorry. I mean, you can reference it. We're going to talk about it eventually, so why not? If you want.
Yeah. Well, no. There's some implications that I don't know if viewers would have picked up on if they hadn't seen Beginnings then.
Yeah. No. I think where this is going to really be interesting is that difference of experiencing this versus show watchers versus people who saw the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I think what the beginning had to do is it had to be enough of an answer to people's questions about what this is. And it was very much talking to Gundam fans who are like, I want to experience this alternate universe. I want the answer of what that is. Versus this is very much, we want a Gundam. And Bandai's kind of done this, especially with Witch from Mercury and all of that, is they've tried to make it very much like, we want a standalone Gundam story that can pay homage to the original, which this one does so cool and so well, versus where the Universal Century kind of got long in the teeth for a lot of people, and for me in particular, is we just kept adding to it. Like, if you look at the list of material to be fully read in the Universal Century, it's insane. we keep telling stories in this universe.
I mean, there are approximately 700 Gundams. Each of them has some supplemental material. There was a vital battle that they all participated in. There was some super weapon that they all stopped, and it's pretty crazy.
Because I think of Requiem for a Vengeance, which was the one they put on Netflix recently that did so poorly that Netflix canceled the live action Gundam because they realized that what they wanted Gundam to be was a mass market appeal. You can put it on and watch it over and over and over again. A Big Bang Theory, if you will. And what Gundam stories are almost always special Gundam defeats special weapon. And it can kind of all be driven down to that. And Requiem for a Vengeance, it has this small scope story, but I mean, who was watching it besides me, right? Like, what casual fan is jumping into it and being like, yeah, I need to know this. And there's another fancy special Gundam that fought another Zeon super weapon. Cool. It just keeps happening everywhere. Versus GQuuuuuux, which I think is, I mean, let's talk about it. With your guys' knowledge of Gundam, this is kind of one of the first times where we've had two main units, the Red Gundam and the White Gundam. Because episode 1 is dedicated to the Red Gundam, which is just kind of doing graffiti. And episode 2 is dedicated to the White Gundam, which is Machu finding the GQuuuuuux. And I think this is a cool interrogation of what Gundam as a self-described genre is now, with being like, hey, but what if there were 2 special units? Because we grabbed one from another universe?
Yeah, I wonder if it's like, because to me, I haven't actually seen that much original Gundam. I've seen like groups of episodes here and there. Like I've seen the Jaburo stuff. I saw like the first 10 episodes, but like
Did you ever watch the movies? The compilation movies?
I watched the first compilation movie. That was a long time ago though. Like I have bits and pieces everywhere of Mobile Suit Gundam. Where my Universal Century knowledge comes most is Zeta, because I actually deep watched all of Zeta last year. So like I will have probably a lot more to say about this stuff when we get into the later episodes, because as of episode 6, we are talking about Titans shit. We are talking about like Bosk Ohm is there. It's crazy. Anyway, it's interesting the way that like not much actually, I think this is a core conceit of Gundam, right? Not much actually changes by the fact that Zeon won the war. Like, oh, big surprise, the space fascists are being fascists in space. Like, they were going to do that anyway. So, like, it's
yeah, true. It's the Earth fascists, the space fascists. Hey, fascists gonna fash.
Well, it's this cool conceit, which is Space Noise and Gundam are a transient population that just exist for political favor on any side. Because like side 6 in the original series was also a neutral side. And in this one, they're just under a different yoke. So instead of the Earth Sphere winning the war and in placing the Titans, Zeons won the war, but obviously they're a poor country. They can't affect that. Like they own space, but side 6 is still a sovereign space. I think it's cool. It's like you're trading one jackboot for another is really the only conceit of GQuuuuuux. I do want to talk about Psychomu though, in these first 3 episodes, because now that I've had a chance to actually sit down and watch these and not be in a theater being like, fuck yeah! I really love what Psychomu and new types mean in the GQuuuuuux universe. So Charlie Bull was called a Jupiter returnee and is still called one because people say that those who have gone to Jupiter had a high chance of becoming new types because of gravity and escaping the Earth sphere, right? We get that in a lot of the original series. In this one, like Omega new types, Omega Psychomu, these are new ways to approach what being a new type is. And yet it evokes so much of the original new types from the first series, right?
Mm-hmm. Think
of the trifecta, because that's what we're doing again, right? You had Char, Amuro, and Lala. And in GQuuuuuux, you have Machu, Nyan, and Amate. Amante? Oh, Ito. Shuji? Is it Shuji or Ito?
Shuji.
Sorry. So Shuji, Nyan, and Amate are your 3 new types. And I love that, like, when I look at this, I'm just applying all of my preconceived notions about new types on them. And yet these 3 are not, like, all of the young new types in this are so different than the new types from the original Universe Century. Hathaway's Flash comes to mind, right? Like, you have Noah's son becomes a new type, starts this war, versus Machu is a new type inside 6 who's just like, I just want the high of Kira.
Yeah, I think so. My problem is I'm not convinced that Gundam as a franchise has a good grasp on new types. I think it kind of becomes, especially towards the end of Zeta, it becomes very apparent that, like, we're just going to call something like a new type ability when it becomes plot convenient that a character is able to do something. What I like about GQuuuuuux is Chalia Bull as a new type. By the way, if you haven't listened to our first GQuuuuuux episode, go listen to that. I'm, like, mentally unwell about Chalia Bull. He as a new type has a lot of things to say about, like, how as people that are extremely articulate and sensitive to, like, the movements of the universe around them, they are also particularly susceptible to, like, particular patterns of behavior, which I really like as something that you can really nail down something consistent about new types. Cause it's like, yeah, you can say new types are, like, just really, really spatially aware, but it's like, that doesn't really cover it because they also are straight up telepathic. They are also straight up telekinetic. Sometimes, like, Camille shoots a space laser. That's something that happens. We don't really talk about it as, like, something that new types can do in general, but it's just, it never comes up as something that's like physically explained. And I don't need everything explained to me, but when it comes to things like Gundam, that's supposed to be quote unquote a real robot show and, like, be, like, kind of a more grounded science fiction, I would like there to be a baseline of, like, what it is actually supposed to mean, you know?
Yeah, it's just once the psycho frame gets involved, everything goes out the window. So it is just magic at that point, and that's okay. It's space magic. They're space psychics, and they're doing space lasers, and we're having great times watching that happen. But yeah, it is not supposed to be necessarily grounded necessarily as much as it is an emotional reflection of the pilot. Because I think that what they express, especially later on, as new types become more and more, and you see this, like, towards the end of Gundam, but, like, in Zeta, Double Zeta, Victory, all of the later UC stuff, all of these kind of new type things that happen, all of these new type suits, all of these new type confrontations are really these battles of will expressed through this space magic. So you have kind of like the end of Zeta, where Camille is crashing into Sirocco, and they are having, like, a literal, like, mental crash of wills that leaves Camille comatose. But yeah, it is just one of those things where it becomes less and less grounded and more expressing that emotion.
It's more just a way for the medium to express what's happening, to show us this battle of wills. But
yeah,
it really does eventually get to a point where it's just so esoteric and not actually show. And, like, I mean, that's what Gundam is there's a million soldiers dying around these two special guys clashing, right? The only thing stopping them from killing everybody else on the other side is one special boy.
Yeah, I've heard, and I don't know if either of you have watched this and can corroborate this story, but I have heard from many people that if you watch Space Runaway Ideon, you can get a kind of firmer grasp on what it means to Yoshioki Tomino for people to have supernatural abilities and what he's going to use that for in terms of a story.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely you can see kind of where he goes with that. I think Ideon it's complicated. It is definitely one of those ones where it's both God is a robot and all of that flows from what that entails. But also it's like, well, what if everybody on this giant robot is kind of a new type, and what happens when really bad things start happening to everybody on this giant robot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have seen that gif of the toddler dying on screen. That's the only thing I know about Ideon.
Right.
Yeah, it gets really dark at the end.
Yeah.
Nice. Hope that doesn't happen here. So there are a few other things. So I really kind of want to focus mostly as a Gundam pervert. Also, Tricky, I didn't ask this. What's your experience with Gundam? I wanted to ask everybody on this mini-series, what's your level of Gundam?
Oh, I've seen many a Gundam. I haven't seen necessarily like all of the UC side stories. Like, I don't think I ever got around to watching like Thunderbolts or some of the other stuff. So maybe we'll have to revisit that one. And I know that Requiem for Vengeance is still on the watch list. But like, you know, I've seen all of the mainline. I love like G Gundam. I love all of the AU stuff. Didn't make it through Age. But you know, I've seen most Gundam, and I played most of the video games. Most of the translated ones, some of the untranslated ones.
Nice. So I want to talk about episode 2, and me and Brian both have a pretty okay knowledge of Gundam, but I know you have more of a perverted knowledge about Gundam. And episode 2 really deals a lot with the differences in the war, including the mini Big Zam, the mini Zam. But what are some other things that kind of stood out to you in the differences between the 1 Year War and the 1 Year War now?
Ooh, yeah. So that's really interesting. So one thing that really immediately went all in on reverse engineering the Gundam, and that kind of cut out, I want to say like 95% of the crazy mobile armors that they normally would have gone through. So that you end up seeing the Bra Bro, which they call the Kikaroga, I believe. Let me double check that.
It's weird because the Kikaroga is a different suit originally, isn't it? Yeah.
It's actually cut content from the OG series. It was supposed to show up in episode, I believe, 42. And it was going to be kind of the mid-range suit between the Gelgoog and the Zeong. So it's kind of a Psycho Zaku, essentially. It has like shoulder cannons. It has like those all-range beam cannon hands. It's a big purple boy.
The iconic beam cannon hands.
Yeah. So it's a little goofy, but it is funny that they ended up using that name for something that already had a pretty established name. So I thought that was kind of an interesting.
They were embarrassed by Bra Bro. They wanted to name it something cooler.
Hey,
Okay,
I mean,
so that original series had some fucking 1970s
where's the Zachrello? That's what I want to know. Bring back the Zachrello.
The Zachrello. So I kind of wanted to touch base on that because there's a couple of other differences, like something that I noticed in this rewatch, the politics of Zeon. So I had talked to somebody about how this came to be, which was a question, which is, what if Char just got into the Zaku? What if Char just got into the Gundam? Is how this started, and the director or the writer behind this then had to stay up like all night plotting out how that would change the 1 Year War. And I think it's really cool because there are a few things Char is really interested in. One of which is new types. And also hiding the fact that he's a new type. So you'll have to remind me, in the beginning movie, Brian, do we get the scene where the doctor gives Char the paperwork that proves he's a new type?
I don't know, because the thing about
I think that one wasn't in the movie.
That it could be a trade-off, right? We don't get the Sayla shit, but we get that instead, because the thing but I don't remember, because the thing about watching that in the theater was I could not take notes. So I kind of have to go off the dome on like what I remember from that. But I don't think we did, because the thing about the movie also is that in 90 minutes, like, you kind of had to compress some things, because I think they wanted it to mostly be about the new stuff. And they kind of had to use the 1 Year War to kind of get into that. And they also
don't want to give away the conceit of it, because I think like Char being a new type and wanting us, because what is it? The original series interrogated this too, which is the future of new types. Are new types a new type of people? Will they be eradicated? We just want them to be safe so we can get to the next stage. And I think that Char being a new type and then kind of planting a seed in Zeon, who wins the war. So you have the Federation was always kind of anti-new type, and Zeon was very much like, we need to create more new types. This is how we win, using new types as a super weapon. And so you have like your boy Xavier, right? He is in the GQuuuuuux. He is a new type. He is a cyber new type that they've trained. And they're like, yeah, you can just use this Omega Psychomu because we have just weaponized the tools of being a new type into like, yeah, we can just kind of make them and you can use funnels now. And that's kind of where every Gundam ends up, right? Is how do we weaponize new types?
Is Xavier a cyber new type?
Thought he was a cyber new type. He's at least a new type.
He's a new type.
I think he is a vanilla new type. He's just
a vanilla new type. I think
he's not
what's her
a fancy new type.
So the people from the Flanagan School are just new types.
Yeah.
I think
So
they're just new
Dr. Flanagan is the original like new type researcher.
That's the guy who gives the paperwork to Char, by the way.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
It's like, you're a new type. I'm not going to give this to the leaders of Zeon because they'll have you killed. He's like, I'm not going to send this to Cassilia.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So I actually do think that it was in the movie because I remember that leading into him introducing Char to Chalia.
Yeah, I think that's
because he asked like, hey, are there any others? And then that's the lead into meeting Chalia, and then
they have 5 beautiful new type children that they send to the Flanagan School, and that's Charlie.
It was
a single
very
dad
romantic.
raising him on his ship. The last thing I want to say before I put Char to bed until he comes back in the series is this is being released on Amazon, and Amazon is doing a same day dub for this. And I have a few issues with it. Specifically, I don't think the person doing Machu's voice, who has done one voice acting role before this, really is capturing that character's kind of like effervescent, like not there vibe, and is more going for like a kitschy little kid being a shit stain vibe. And it doesn't really work for me. But the English voice actor for Char fucking slaying it. It's dripping. They do different line reads than the original dialogue, and he reads them in a way that really sounds like if you were to actually naturalize Char's lines, it sounds just that smooth, dripping with confidence that Char has.
He is also pretty scuzzy, which, that's what you need out of a Char.
That's true. I remember watching the movie was in a dub, and I've been watching the show in a sub just because I, by default, prefer that in most cases.
Highly recommend the sub until there's like a long-term dub, I guess would be my thing. Like, I don't know. It's hard to... Here's what I'll say. Dubbing in real time is hard because you don't know where the character is going as a voice actor.
And I don't love dub Shuji. I don't love dub Chalia. I don't love dub Machu. But the voice acting in the subs is all pretty 100% for me. I like it. I like it all. You
can tell. But also we need to give credence to the Voice Actors Guild of America and their soft strike that they're going on. So listen to it another time. Don't give them the streams, guys. So let's go back to Machu and Yan and Shuji and their little story of becoming Mavs. So I think this is a cool concept. Now that I've seen it again in a different way, I can see where this story is going a lot better. But I also want to talk about the Kira of it all. So the big thing that Machu is into is that Kira high she gets from new type. And you pointed out something that I want to give credence to, Tricky, if you want to talk about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the big thing that I've noticed is you really hear the Lala's resonance sound effects. So that is coming up quite a bit. And one thing that they didn't also show in the series as of yet, but they did talk about in the movie, was the Rose of Sharon disappearing. So I'm pretty sure that that's going to come back.
I think I know what that is.
As Lala when they come up in the series proper. But
yeah, just like I feel like by the end of GQuuuuuux, there's going to be a bunch of deep dives into everything, because this is thick with references.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know what that was, and again, sorry, not to get too far ahead, but I will say Shuji implies that he's looking for a rose later on, which is interesting. But anyway,
I really love Shuji is just in sealed room in a colony, spray painting everything and getting high on the fumes and talking about their thoughts.
Bro is so high.
There's a bunch of different other cool things that occur here, but we've kind of already talked about it. I think the Tricky, what do you think about the concept of Mavs, which is being introduced? This is a new thing to Gundam. Every Gundam has to have their gimmick, and the gimmick of this Gundam is space combat is hard, so you need a partner to survive.
So it's really interesting because if you look back at like the original series, there's not a lot of strong focus on, or like even really in most series, there's not a really strong focus on these like wingman type situations. You have generally a solo suit, like the headliner. And on, kind of like the grunt side, you have like the Black Tri-Stars, but they're in a trio. There's very, very rarely like this duo kind of system. So this is actually really...
Because, the mess team has squad tactics, right? Thunderbolt has squad tactics. But you really never see a pair of units being like wingmen. Because we think of like, I think of Macross a lot, and this feels like hey, Macross made sense. They had wingmen. Why wouldn't you have a wingman as a mech pilot?
That's super makes sense.
Call back to, what is it? One of the first ones we did. Shit.
One of the first what? Just things? Episodes?
The women mecha podcast. No, the other Gunbuster.
Oh.
Gunbuster. Aim for the top. They have the concept also of co-pilots.
Mm-hmm.
True. Oh, they do.
They do.
That just blew my mind a little bit.
They really, I kind of liked that because I thought about the scene where she's in her suit and her partner's out there dying and she can't see him in space.
Torrin Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. So one other thing to kind of highlight about the Mavs that they've kind of gotten into is I believe that there's going to be a delineation between a real Mav and then kind of most of what we've seen in the series so far, which are just pairs of mobile suits. And they talk
textbook mobile armored force.
Textbook
when he sees the people
Mav
piloting.
tactics. And I think to be a real Mav, both have to be new types, because the whole point of a Mav is that you can communicate wordlessly in a Minovsky particle environment, right? So everything that Machu's been doing with Shuji is like actually what you're supposed to be doing as a Mav. Like, as of 1 through 3, are they like very good at it? No, because they're still like feeling themselves out. They're still like figuring these things out together, but they actually have the tools to be a proper Mav unit. Whereas, the pair of Zaku's or even, ace pilots who aren't new types just don't have the same set of tools. They can't replicate what they have.
It's I think a lot about how when you can't replicate something that is innately special, like new type, a military industrial complex will try to, as best, capture that to give it to the masses. It's the automatic rifle. Hey, we found out that an automatic rifle with a competent user will generate a high capacity of killing, right? But you can't just give that to any grunt soldier. So how do you normalize that? I don't know. You give them burst fire. You do all these things to up that level by taking a worse version of it. And I think you see it with Xavier, right? He went to the Flanagan Institute. He's a new type. He cannot activate the Omega Psychomu. Is that because Haru wasn't there? Or is because he's not a true new type? Or he doesn't understand? Like, think of being taught in a school that you're a new type and how to be a new type. You're going to be a Mav and you're going to talk to people in your head. But that's something that you have to like Char and Shalia, have raw dog sex to do. Or like Matcha and Shuji, you have to have a yearning for something better, for that Kira. They're both dreamers.
I think Xavier's definitely a new type. I think a line that Shalia has at some point, I don't know if it's in this run of episodes or the next, but he says at some point that it's not about technique, it's about determination. I think there's a combination here. I think that there is something happening with the Haro. Like every time we see that little VHS thing activate, it has to do with the Haro. But also, Xavier is missing something, and I think we'll see him gain what that is through the course of the show. But like right now, he is just repeatedly bashing his head against nothing.
I'm really trying to not watch ahead on this, so I'm not spoiling myself. But Kamali has to come into play as a Mav for Xavier. There's no other way this show goes.
Oh, you're right. I think that's probably
no other way this goes. She has just been there this whole time, encouraging him, and I think she's the one who's going to help unlock
Is she a new type as well? They're all a new type on that bridge, aren't they?
No, she's wearing these special uniforms, so you can tell by the uniform they wear where they have that high collar with the colors, and hers is blue and his is red, because I think they're a pair of Mavs. But okay, how much of being a new type is having a connection with another person? How much of it is yearning for another person?
So it's definitely very much, I think, about that connection.
I mean, you don't get the Kira unless someone else is there. Like she doesn't experience it alone. It's always in combat with someone else or with Shuji or et cetera, you know?
Okay, so we talked about the Haru, and I want to put this out as soon as possible. My theory on Haru. I think this Haru is aware of the other timeline. I think this Haru knows what the original universe is and is just waiting around for the chance to correct the timelines and bring Char back. That's my theory.
I think Char is either in the Haro or in the Gundam, or both.
I didn't even think about Char being in the Red Gundam, but I do love that. I love the spirits of them being imbued in these machines.
A prevailing theory, I think, that I've seen in the fandom is that Char is like Yui Ikari'd into the Red Gundam.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's very... So, like, you have, for example, like the Blue Destiny units, where a new type was imbued into, like, the exam system.
That's fucked up.
So I think it's really thematic, and also there is prior art supporting Char being in the Gundam, so I think it's entirely possible.
Mm-hmm.
I think something to also think about is, and we haven't said it yet, but Amuro has not appeared at all. We have not seen. We saw they kind of faked us out with Cameron Bloom, the aide to the president, who kind of looks like an up-aged.
Sorry, you mean Kamran?
Kamran, yes, who kind of looks like you could see it, right? But he's not really. But we haven't seen him yet, and I think his absence is very loud in this series.
Hey, man, Lala. I said it last episode. I'll say it again. I want them to be so normal. I want them to be doing office jobs and like going to Subway on their lunch breaks and drinking coffee. That's what I want for Amuro Ray.
That would honestly, the best ending for this is that all of this happened and Amuro and Layla just had a life together and just were happy without Char. So yeah, anything else in these 3 episodes? Yeah.
Oh, one thing I do want to bring up is just kind of a little bit of a visual thing that's fun is the activators to enable the weapons, right? They have those little cassettes that they're smuggling around. It's not like a 1-to-1, but they look a lot like the Temray circuit from the OG Gundam. So it's just kind of a fun little visual.
I like that. There's so many little visuals and treats for people who have been Gundam fans for decades that I really see the love in all of this, which is why I have my full trust with whatever they're doing. Like, I've been having a great journey with it. I haven't felt this way since Witch, if I'm being honest with the Gundam.
Well,
Gundam
so since
universe.
the last main Gundam.
No, we had Requiem. That was a main line.
Does that count?
It counts, sadly.
Okay.
It's canon.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts for these first 3? It's mostly a recap of the beginning, but I wanted us to actually watch them as they aired too. And there are some differences that I thought were worth really pointing out between the two. The one thing I want to say is, Brian and anybody else who did watch the beginning, watch episode 2 of GQuuuuuux. It is the 1 Year War twist episode. However, they use, if you watch it in the theater, it's like, wow, it's cool they're using all these old sounds. They structure it like an OG series episode, complete with the yeah sounds before break and the yeah when it comes back. And they do all, watching that episode cut out, I would love to do a 1x1 with all of the scenes from the original. I was discussing this, but the way that we have seen the scene of the 3 Zaku's going into a colony to find a Gundam in so many Gundam properties. There's a specific shot where the Zaku stands up behind some trees, and it's, in the original, it's just one cell being moved up, so it's slow animation. They do that exact shot in this one, and it looks so static compared to the rest of the show because they match the jump. But it's like, I know that exact shot. I've seen that shot for all of my years. I love it. It's a treat to watch that episode if you're a Gundam fan. It's just an absolute delight.
I just saw what you're talking about. I have it playing right now.
They do an amazing job of recreating a ton of shots from the original series. You know, like when Char kills the gun cannon, that is pretty much Amuro killing the Zaku.
Yes, the first mobile suit combat, but it's,
yeah,
because he even does the weird clash that they do, the shoulder check that the Zaku does.
Yeah,
I saw somebody did a side-by-side 1-to-1 of Amuro getting in the Gundam and Char getting in the Gundam, and it's good. It's very good.
yeah. Like they are very intentionally making a point of like recreating as much as they can to highlight this like branching history, but also calling back as they do it. And it's really cool how they're doing it. And I'm really excited to see how the rest of the series goes.
Mm-hmm.
And also Machu is best girl, will remain best girl, will never not be best girl. If they ruin her, I will die. All right. So we do want to do one last thing. In these mini episodes, we're going to have a couple of different guests. And unfortunately, we can't have the knowledge of what comes, but we can give our gut reaction. So I'll be asking every guest on these mini episodes to rate the GQuuuuuux Gundams. So, Tricky, you're our first guest. You've only had 3 episodes, but we're gonna have you give a rating to these goddamn mechs. So we have the Gundam GQuuuuuux, the Red Gundam, the Police Zaku's, and generally anything else that we've kind of seen so far. So the training Zaku, the early gun cannon, just talk about all of that and give it a rating out of 10.
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to say for right now, just speaking on episodes 1 through 3, so not anything that was in the beginnings, I think that right now I'd say it's probably at about a 7 for me. I really like the visual stylings that they've done on the redesigns. I think that the GQuuuuux's transformation when it activates the Omega Psychomu is really cool. I like the back thrusters. I like its little shield. It's very nice. And I like that they've been using the Heat Hawk as the primary melee instead of a beam saber. It's a really nice little change. It gives it a lot of flavor. So I think that they've done a really good job of making everything feel dynamic and weighty. The mobile police, the MP Zaku combat in episode 1 as they're crashing through the refugee area and they're tearing up all of the buildings, you can really get that sense of scale. You can really feel just kind of like how much this is just wrecking everyone's shit as they're fighting the Red Gundam and GQuuuuuux. And it's just, everything is so good. I just want to see more. And I know that they're going to bring it in future episodes, but as of episode 3, they haven't quite, hit those high heights that I'm hoping for. So 7 out of 10 so far, but high hopes.
Great. We'll be circling back with all of our guests at the end of this for some updated scores. And Brian, we'll be checking in with you then as well. But for now, that's this episode of On the Shoulders of Giants mini episode where we discussed Mobile Suit Gundam GQuuuuuux. Any parting thoughts, you two?
Challiable, I'm free on Friday.
Always happy to go. Guest host, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, pilots. Reach out for our advice from our team at our email. Non-pilots can send general questions to that same email address, questions@osgpod.com. You can catch up with us on social media. Links in the description for updates and more. You'll also find a link to our Discord, where there's already great discussion on GQuuuuuux, both while it's airing and at any other time. We love talking about things that aired 30 years ago, so if you want to just discuss this Gundam or any Gundam, jump on the Discord. We'll see you for the next part, where we'll be covering the next 3 episodes. Until then, goodbye. I love you.
Goodbye, I love you.
Goodbye. I love you.